You're listening to the Bleeding Goat Podcast. We're going through the 5th edition Monster Manual, A to Z, taking a look at the lore and seeing how we can use that lore to give our players something to engage in the world and the story that we're telling. This video is going to cover the Ankheg. Ankhegs are large insect-like creatures. They have a hard carapace, multiple legs, these massive claws that are used for burrowing, and mandibles that are sharp and powerful. The book says that it can snap a small tree in two. They are everything that you hate about all insects, like cockroaches, except in a large package that can viciously kill you. On the upside, they can't crawl on walls. They're burrowing creatures. But I'm told that they originally tried to let them crawl on walls, but too many people quit upon encountering the Ankheg. So they just dropped it. Ankhegs have a lot going for them. Aside from being creepy because they're insects and they have these massive mandibles and claws, what really stands out is their method of hunting is so well covered. So Ankhegs burrow underneath the ground, and then they come, just below the surface. Using their tremor sense, they wait for a passerby, whether that's a cow or a sheep or a human. They wait for a passerby using their tremor sense to detect, and then boom, they burst forth from the ground. They snap shut their mandibles, and it says that they grind and crunch their prey using digestive enzymes to swallow them whole. That is a beautiful description of an Ankheg attack. And it's the kind of information that you want to give your characters available during the combat, but also potentially before using a nature check. As if that weren't enough, the digestive enzymes are actually projectile, like a hydralisk. It can spit out its acid in a line 5 feet wide, 30 feet long. I mean, that's an impressively fun package for a CR2 creature. Quick sidebar, the Monster Manual, and I don't know if this is a mistake, actually lists 2 armor classes for the Ankheg. One is lower when it's prone, so not only do they get advantage to attack a prone creature, but it also has lower AC. So that suggests that there's a hard carapace on the top. It's a little bit softer underneath. Another great detail to give your players on a nature check. I was really feeling the slasher vibes until we got to this second heading, and it says that Ankhegs get a bit of their nutrition from the soil that they burrow through. As a nerd, I thought that was a great detail, but I just thought it was interestingly placed under the heading of Bane of Field and Forest. It's a pretty aggressive title. It goes on to say that Ankheg are known for hunting in livestock patches and forests that are full of game. Followed by, and I quote, Ankhegs are thus the bane of farmers and rangers everywhere. How do you have this horrific murdering machine description followed by, they're just nuisances for farmers? I mean, bears also eat cattle, right? So, this is kind of, you can imagine a situation where the farmers are just I lost 2 sheep the other day. And the other farmer is like, oh, wolves? And he's like, no, an Ankheg. And he's like, happens. I don't know. So why do rangers hate Ankhegs? That was the part I was trying to figure out. Why do rangers hate Ankhegs? What is the Ankheg origin story? Well, Ankhegs are listed as monstrosities in the Monster Manual. And the Monster Manual says that monstrosities come from curses or, experiments. So they're just not natural. But that gives you a lot of leeway to do anything you want with Ankhegs. Now, you could decide that in your world, Ankhegs are fresh. I just think you need to keep in mind that the ultimate life of an Ankheg is that it's just going to be like slightly scary to a farmer. It has to be like an inside joke amongst wizards, right? Like the ultimate put down. The wizard who experimented or gave this curse, like he doesn't show up to the 30-year reunion, right? And he's not proud of his accomplishments. Like everyone rags on that guy. Anyway, no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't really let go of the line about being the bane of farmers. So I was trying to think of other creatures that attack livestock, and you do have grizzly bears. Now, there's no chart in 5th edition for how much a large creature weighs, but in 3.5 there is, and that chart says it's anywhere between 500 pounds and 4,000 pounds, which is a massively wide range, sure. So a grizzly bear is in that 600, 700 pound category. It eats 30 pounds of meat a day going into hibernation, and it covers a territory of 50 to 500 square miles. It's a pretty massive territory. Quick sidebar, I didn't use crocodiles and I didn't use sharks because they actually have slower digestive systems, and the Ankheg has a powerful acid. So I figured that was probably more in line with a bear that was going to go into hibernation and need to fatten up. Anyway, so all my questions came from that angle. Like, if there are bears in our world and there's pelts and leather, then shouldn't there be chitinous armor industry, right? Like, they're common enough to be the bane of farmers. They got to make armor out of these things on a regular basis. That acid has to be a commodity. I mean, we're talking about, sure, wizards could use them for something special, alchemists, but alchemists and thieves would be using them to potentially melt locks or soften locks. And maybe the butcher's secret ingredient to soften the meat is a little bit of this Ankheg acid. You could also imagine that just people who are trying to be more virile, tough, strong like bull, they take a drop of this acid every day to strengthen themselves. If Ankhegs at this point are attacking livestock on a regular enough basis to be the bane of farmers, then heavy rains may lead to larger Ankheg birth rates, or at least more attacks on livestock for whatever reason. Like, just try to fit them into the normal ecology. You could have Ankhegs that are a little bit more territorial, like killer bees, or maybe they're more like a plague of locusts, except the kingdom will actually pay you per head. No matter what, this is really good world building detail because it lets your players engage in a fantastic world, but also know that there's enough similarity for how to navigate it. In contrast, if Ankhegs just show up and start eating things by the thousands or attacking people, then your players would know that your game is not one where you have to really think about how things work. You just engage with whatever is directly in front of you. The last heading in the monster manual is earthen tunnels. And it's talking about how when the Ankhegs burrow, they leave behind semi-collapsed tunnels that you can navigate. Inside the tunnels, you'll be able to find stuff like molten chitin, partially digested bodies, and the goodies that were on them, as well as hatched eggs. The monster manual is going out of its way to tell you, don't give your players unhatched eggs. I think that's really funny because someone's looking for a hatched egg. It's worth noting that burrowing in 5e doesn't let you go through solid rock. So it's unlikely that you're going to find an Ankheg in a populated city. Though if you've watched Alien, you just know someone has snuck one in. Or if you're a fan of Brotherhood of the Wolf, it was intended to be a hunting companion. Back to the tunnels. Take a map and look at how big 500 square miles can be. Tunnels can go anywhere. Nests are always fun, and lost cities can be an entire adventure. If you're in a political campaign, unearthing an item from a body, some truth a powerful person doesn't want known, is always a win. Last and definitely least, if you are in a comedic game, might I suggest that you have your antennae, like two antennae, just sit there and sway in the field like wheat. But instead of being any reasonable color, like make them blue. And as the giant monstrosity of an insect pops out, I would like it to grumble, "Spoon!" Major kudos to whoever wrote the Ankheg entry. Like insects in real life, they can do a lot for your world.